Many times a person looks at their life and assumes nothing meaningful is happening, as if their efforts are scattered and their prayers are suspended in the air. But Allah works in ways the human mind cannot trace. What appears silent is not empty. It is a phase where Allah arranges matters beyond your sight. A setback you never wanted may be the very push that places you on a path you would have never chosen on your own. A delay that frustrates you might be shielding you from a hardship you never saw coming. When Allah decides to unfold a blessing, He does so with such precision that you realize every confusion, every pause, and every closed door was part of a design far greater than your expectations. His plan does not rush, nor does it miss its moment. It arrives exactly when your heart is ready to appreciate what once seemed out of reach. Life can feel confusing when events don't unfold the way you hoped, yet the Almighty never allows any moment in your journey to be meaningless. What appears unclear today is crafted with perfect precision. A believer grows not by having every answer, but by trusting the one who sees what lies ahead. The heart eventually realizes that every delay, every redirection, and every unexpected turn was designed with mercy. What feels heavy now may become the brightest moment of your life later. Plans fall apart in ways that leave you questioning everything, yet the Almighty never abandons a sincere heart. He redirects you from outcomes that may harm you or weaken your faith. What looks like a setback often becomes the very thing that elevates you. Hidden within those moments is protection that you couldn't recognize. With time, gratitude replaces confusion, and clarity replaces frustration. Trust fills the spaces where answers are missing. When your efforts don't produce the results you longed for, it can feel discouraging, yet the Almighty knows exactly when the heart is ready to receive what is meant for it. Delays are not punishments, they are preparations. You may not see the wisdom in the moment, but the future will reveal why everything happened the way it did. What you thought was denial may have been the opening to something far greater. His plan is flawless even when your understanding isn't. The heart grows through experiences that stretch your patience and challenge your perspective. The Almighty doesn't test you to break you, but to build you. Every painful turn holds a lesson tailored specifically for your soul. What confuses you today may become the reason your faith strengthens tomorrow. You may feel unsure, yet the one who guides you never loses control. His wisdom accompanies every chapter of your life. The journey often takes directions you never imagined, yet each direction carries purpose. The Almighty protects you from paths that may harm your spiritual growth. What seems like a loss might be saving you from greater pain. When clarity arrives, you realize nothing was random. Every tear, every silent prayer, and every unanswered question was shaping you into someone stronger. Divine wisdom works in ways the mind cannot measure. During difficult periods, the heart might feel tired from seeking answers, but the Almighty is arranging matters quietly. Growth happens in places where comfort doesn't stay. What feels like pressure is actually preparation. You will look back and notice that the moments which confused you were the ones that refined your character the most. Every experience is written with precision and kindness. Trust in the one who manages your affairs better than you ever could. The course of your life may shift unexpectedly, yet those shifts often carry blessings that unfold with time. The Almighty knows what each soul needs to flourish. Events that seem disruptive can lead to greater opportunities. What the eye sees as an ending may be a beautiful beginning in disguise. When everything aligns, you will understand why the change was necessary. Nothing escapes the wisdom of the Almighty. Challenges may leave you wondering why relief hasn't reached you yet. Yet the Almighty allows certain phases to strengthen your connection with Him. Every hardship cleanses the heart from relying too heavily on the world. You are led towards something better even when the path feels unclear. In due time, relief arrives in a way that leaves you grateful for every test. His wisdom is unfolding quietly around you. Unexpected outcomes can transform your understanding of life. The Almighty responds to prayers in ways that uplift your soul. Answers don't always arrive in the form you expected, yet they arrive in the form you need. When your plans do not unfold, His plan does. Only later do you realize how perfectly each event was arranged. Every detail is guided with mercy, even when you feel uncertain. Emotional confusion often holds a deeper purpose. The Almighty nurtures inner strength through experiences that appear difficult at first. What you thought was a setback may actually be a turning point. The beauty of His wisdom becomes clear after you've walked through the challenge. Healing and clarity follow in their appointed time. With trust, the heart finds peace even before the answers appear. When life shifts in unexpected directions, you may feel unprepared, yet the Almighty equips your heart with what you need. Changes that seemed sudden were already written with care. Over time, the wisdom behind the transition becomes evident. You begin to see how every difficulty shaped your resilience. Nothing in your life happens without divine purpose. Every step is guided with compassion. The journey toward clarity can feel long, yet the Almighty is with you at every stage. Experiences that confuse you are often guiding you towards something beneficial. You will one day recognize how those moments protected you from unseen harm. What feels uncomfortable now may become the source of your greatest strength. The divine plan unfolds in ways that elevate your heart. Each moment carries a hidden blessing. When your expectations differ from the outcome, the heart may feel unsettled, yet the Almighty knows the unseen realities surrounding every decision. His wisdom goes beyond what the human mind can grasp. With reflection, you will recognize that what you wanted was replaced by what you truly needed. The moment understanding appears, gratitude fills the space disappointment once held. His mercy remains constant. Every soul is guided through a path uniquely crafted for its growth. The Almighty places you in situations that develop your patience, humility, and trust. While your understanding is limited, His wisdom is infinite. What you didn't want may become the biggest blessing in your life. You will eventually realize the purpose behind every confusing moment. His plan never fails. Experiences that seem heavy may contain unexpected gifts. The Almighty shapes your heart through situations that purify your intentions. What felt like a loss may bring you closer to Him than comfort ever could. The wisdom of that moment appears slowly, but it arrives with certainty. You will recognize how perfectly everything unfolded. His judgment is always superior to your own. Life may take you through chapters you didn't anticipate, yet each chapter brings growth that strengthens your faith. The Almighty aligns your path with what benefits your spiritual well-being. What appears painful will later reveal its beauty. Trust bridges the gap between confusion and clarity. When the clouds lift, everything begins to make sense. The wisdom behind the struggle becomes clear. Questions may fill your mind during difficult times, but the Almighty never leaves a sincere heart without purpose. He uses confusion to deepen your understanding and reliance upon Him. What felt overwhelming becomes a source of valuable insight. The realization arrives when the timing is right. Every moment is part of a design that protects and elevates you. His wisdom surrounds every event. Emotional heaviness often comes before significant transformation. The Almighty prepares you for greater blessings by guiding you through experiences that build resilience. What feels unclear today will one day become a memory that strengthens your gratitude. Every unexpected turn carries meaning. When the pieces come together, you will recognize His mercy in every detail. Trust leads the way forward. When you feel uncertain, the Almighty is arranging outcomes that will bring you more peace than you expect. What you thought was an obstacle may become the reason you rise. Each moment is filled with lessons that shape your character. Understanding may not come immediately, yet it arrives at the perfect time. His wisdom flows through every stage of your life. Nothing is written without care. Clarity often appears long after the struggle has passed. The Almighty knows when your heart is ready to understand. What once troubled you becomes something you thank Him for. Growth emerges from experiences that once felt confusing. Every event was placed with precision and compassion. His wisdom becomes evident the moment you look back and realize everything led you to exactly where you were meant to be. Life can shift so suddenly that your heart struggles to keep up with the change, yet the Almighty never moves a believer without purpose. A new direction may feel overwhelming, but within that shift lies wisdom the mind cannot detect. When a familiar path fades, a hidden blessing often appears. The change you never expected might be the key to the peace you've been seeking. His plan unfolds with flawless timing. Trust opens the door to understanding. You may find yourself in a situation you never imagined, wondering how everything changed so quickly, yet the Almighty knows which route will nurture your heart best. A transition that feels abrupt is usually preparing you for growth you didn't realize you needed. The path may feel unfamiliar, but it's guiding you towards something meaningful. What feels disruptive now may soon feel like a gift. Every turn is crafted with mercy. When your comfort zone collapses, the Almighty might be pushing you toward a new chapter He wrote long ago. A shift can feel difficult, yet the future it leads to often carries greater goodness. What you held on to tightly may have been limiting your progress. New doors open when old ones close unexpectedly. Later, you recognize the beauty of what replaced what you lost. Divine rearrangement always carries purpose. Life might take a direction you didn't request, yet the Almighty's knowledge surpasses every fear you hold inside. You may not see the wisdom behind the detour, but that path is crafted specifically for you. The change that caught you off guard may be guiding you away from harm. Blessings often begin where comfort ends. Trusting His plan brings peace even before answers arrive. Every change contains a hidden mercy. What feels like an interruption may actually be a rescue. The Almighty removes you from environments that could damage your faith or delay your progress. A sudden shift might protect you from future pain you cannot see yet. While your heart adjusts, clarity begins forming quietly. You realize the change was necessary for your well-being. Divine intervention often arrives before you recognize the need for it. Every step is guided with precision. Unexpected changes can shake your heart, yet they often mark the beginning of a powerful transformation. The Almighty guides you toward places where your soul can flourish. Even when the shift feels tough, the future holds goodness shaped exclusively for you. What seemed impossible may become easy once you adapt. Looking back, you will see that the change saved you. Divine wisdom works beyond the limits of human thought. You might feel unprepared when life alters course, but the Almighty equips you for every situation He places you in. A change you didn't choose might be exactly what elevates you spiritually and emotionally. What appears confusing can hold the seeds of growth. Embrace the direction He sends you, knowing nothing is written without purpose. With time, you will realize how much mercy was hidden in the rearrangement. Everything is placed with care. The Almighty moves your life in ways that align perfectly with what your heart needs. A sudden shift may push you toward opportunities you didn't consider. What feels uncomfortable at first becomes a doorway to something meaningful. The redirection might reveal strengths you didn't know you had. His planning extends far beyond your expectations. Every new direction is guided by wisdom that protects and uplifts you. Moments of unexpected change remind you that you are not meant to control everything. The Almighty shapes your path based on what will benefit you most. What felt like a disruption becomes a fresh start. New blessings often enter through doors you didn't expect to open. Every step you take is under His care. Peace comes when the heart accepts that His planning is superior to your own. A dramatic shift may feel like your world is being rearranged, yet every detail is written with precise wisdom. The Almighty removes what no longer serves your growth. What you lose may clear space for something far better. Trusting His decision brings ease to a weary heart. In hindsight, you will thank Him for directing you away from what you once wanted. His knowledge encompasses what you cannot see. Life can take a turn that leaves you wondering how everything changed so quickly, yet the Almighty never moves you without purpose. A sudden transition often clears a path for blessings you weren't ready to receive earlier. Your heart grows stronger through these shifts. What seemed uncertain becomes a source of relief. Every moment is part of a greater design crafted with divine wisdom. You are never moved without reason. When your plans crumble, a greater plan often begins. The Almighty rearranges your life to align with what He knows is best for you. A trial or shift can feel heavy, yet it paves the way for blessings you couldn't imagine. Even when you feel lost, He is guiding you with compassion. What you see as disruption may be the start of something remarkable. His arrangement always holds goodness. You may feel shaken when life redirects you suddenly, yet those moments carry profound opportunity. The Almighty might be positioning you for growth, healing, or protection. A path that felt secure could have been limiting your potential. Embrace the direction He provides, knowing that nothing changes without His wisdom. The shift that startled you may become a turning point. His care never falters. A new chapter can begin without warning, yet the Almighty knows exactly why it opened. What seems unfamiliar may eventually feel like home. The rearrangement is designed to elevate your heart and strengthen your faith. Even confusion carries meaning within His plan. You will recognize the wisdom behind it once the pieces fit together. Divine guidance leads every step forward. Change that happens quickly can leave you searching for answers. Yet the Almighty brings transformation in ways that uplift you spiritually. What feels like a sudden shift may actually be the answer to a prayer you forgot you made. He aligns events in ways that serve you in the long run. The moment clarity arrives, gratitude replaces doubt. His planning is always filled with mercy. You might face an unexpected removal from certain people, places, or habits. The Almighty extracts you from what no longer benefits you spiritually or emotionally. His rearrangement protects your heart even when you don't recognize the reason. Growth begins once the unnecessary fades away. Blessings arrive when the heart becomes ready to receive them. Everything unfolds according to His perfect knowledge. New directions can appear without warning, yet they carry wisdom tailored for your growth. The Almighty positions you where your heart will flourish. What looks like an abrupt shift is often the beginning of a new blessing. You may not understand it immediately, but understanding arrives with time. Trusting His choices brings peace. His plan takes you exactly where you need to go. A sudden change can feel overwhelming, yet it may carry relief disguised as difficulty. The Almighty uses these moments to guide you towards something better. What felt secure may have been preventing your progress. When He redirects you, He is preparing your heart for greater things. With reflection, you will see how each change benefited you. Divine rearrangement always holds deeper meaning. Unexpected redirection teaches reliance on the Almighty more than anything else. When He rearranges your life, it's never random. A shift may push you to discover strengths you didn't know you possessed. What initially felt painful transforms into wisdom. You will see the beauty behind the change when the right moment arrives. Every alteration in your path is shaped with compassion. Every unexpected change you face carries a message. Trust the One who controls every detail. The Almighty never removes without replacing with something better. Even when you feel disoriented, His plan is moving you toward a brighter chapter. The confusion you experience now becomes clarity later. His timing never fails. What He rearranges is always for your benefit. A delay often feels like an unanswered prayer, yet the Almighty never withholds without reason. You may be wishing for a door to open, unaware of the harm that waits behind it. A pause in your plans could be protecting your heart, your faith, or your future. What feels like a setback may carry hidden mercy. When the right moment arrives, everything aligns effortlessly. His timing always carries wisdom. A detour might confuse you at first, yet it often leads toward a blessing that wasn't on your map. The Almighty knows every path you walk and every outcome behind each choice. He redirects you to what will nurture your soul. What felt like disappointment transforms into an unexpected gift. The shift guides you toward opportunities designed exclusively for you. Each delay has purpose. A prayer that takes long to be answered often becomes the prayer that changes you the most. The Almighty uses those waiting periods to strengthen your patience, refine your intentions, and deepen your connection with Him. What you desire may need preparation before it reaches you. Through the delay, your heart grows stronger. When the blessing finally arrives, you appreciate it far more. Every pause carries meaning. A path that extends longer than you hoped may be the one carrying the most beauty. The Almighty shapes your journey with perfect precision. What feels like slow progress is often creating inner growth. You gain wisdom, resilience, and clarity along the way. When you reach what you prayed for, you realize why the delay was necessary. His plan unfolds in ways the heart eventually understands. A closed door can feel painful, yet it often guards you from something you didn't see coming. The Almighty removes what isn't good for you, even if you wished for it deeply. He knows the future, the unseen harms and the burdens you aren't ready for. The detour you didn't want may lead to peace you couldn't imagine. What you lost might have been replaced with mercy. Every redirection carries protection. A setback might feel discouraging, but it could be clearing your path for something greater. The Almighty rearranges events with perfect wisdom. What you planned may have been too small compared to what He intends for you. The delay allows new opportunities to form. Eventually you realize the blessing was worth waiting for. Divine wisdom works in ways the mind cannot measure. A waiting period often humbles the heart and reminds it to rely on the Almighty more than anything else. When you don't receive what you want immediately, your faith learns to trust beyond logic. This trust becomes a powerful spiritual tool. After the delay passes, the blessing arrives with more sweetness. What once felt like a struggle becomes a source of gratitude. Every pause is an invitation for growth. A detour might direct you toward people who will uplift your life in ways you never expected. The Almighty aligns hearts and connections at the perfect moment. What looked like an obstacle may have been the bridge towards something beautiful. The shift may bring new guidance or support. You later realize how necessary the detour was. Nothing in your life is rearranged without purpose. A dream postponed may protect you from achieving it with the wrong mindset. The Almighty refines your heart through waiting. You learn patience, gratitude, and maturity along the way. These qualities prepare you to handle the blessing with wisdom. When the dream finally unfolds, you are ready for it. The delay becomes part of the gift itself. A prayer answered later often arrives in a form you never predicted. The Almighty gives you what you need, not just what you ask for. A delay may shape the blessing until it fits perfectly into your life. What once felt late suddenly feels perfectly timed. You realize how much mercy was hidden in the wait. Divine planning is flawless. A challenge may block your path, yet that block might push you into a new direction filled with opportunity. The Almighty knows how to guide you through events that appear frustrating. What felt like a setback becomes a source of strength. The detour brings clarity you didn't have before. Blessings start unfolding from unexpected places. Every turn has hidden goodness. A long wait can soften the heart and bring you closer to the Almighty. Patience builds a deeper relationship with Him. Through the delay, you rely on prayer more sincerely. Your heart shifts from demanding outcomes to trusting divine wisdom. The blessing that arrives afterward becomes a reminder of His mercy. Every delay carries spiritual elevation. A detour might save you from a future difficulty that only the Almighty knows. What seemed like an unwanted shift could be shielding you from a hardship you weren't aware of. You may feel disappointed in the moment, yet with time, the protection becomes clear. Gratitude replaces confusion. His guidance always arrives before the danger. Every redirection safeguards your journey. A delayed blessing often brings more fulfillment than an immediate one. The Almighty gives you exactly what your heart needs at the right moment. Waiting teaches you how to appreciate His gifts more deeply. What comes with patience often carries more peace. When the blessing finally reaches you, everything starts making sense. Divine timing never fails. A detour can reveal strengths within you that you didn't know existed. The Almighty places you in situations that bring out hidden qualities. Through the change in direction, you develop patience, courage, and resilience. The journey becomes a form of self-discovery. As you grow, you understand why the original path wasn't meant for you. His wisdom transforms detours into lessons. A long wait might prepare you for something bigger than your original request. The Almighty arranges blessings in layers, revealing them when the heart is ready. What you thought was small becomes part of something greater. The delay strengthens your capacity to handle responsibility. When everything unfolds, the wisdom shines clearly. His generosity exceeds expectation. A detour can lead you away from worldly distractions that were harming your spiritual state. The Almighty redirects you toward environments that nurture your iman. You may not see the benefit immediately, yet your heart begins to feel lighter. Over time, you recognize how much the shift protected your faith. What once frustrated you becomes a source of sincere gratitude. His care embraces every believer. A delay in your plans might open doors that were far better than the ones you originally sought. The Almighty knows the outcomes behind every decision you could make. By slowing your steps, He positions you to receive something more meaningful. When the blessing arrives, you realize how much you were being prepared. Every slowed moment carried wisdom. A detour often brings you closer to people who play a vital role in your future. The Almighty arranges these meetings with precision. You may cross paths with someone who guides you, supports you, or elevates your journey. Without the detour, that connection would have never occurred. This reveals how intentional every shift truly is. The unseen arrangement becomes a blessing. A delay gives your heart the chance to grow in gratitude, humility, and reliance on the Almighty. These qualities strengthen your spiritual foundation. When the blessing reaches you, it lands on a heart that appreciates it deeply. You realize that the waiting period was not empty. It was a time of preparation. Nothing in your life is postponed without purpose. Each moment carries divine favor. A closed door often leaves you feeling confused, yet the Almighty never shuts it without preparing a better one. What you thought was meant for you may have carried a burden your heart could not handle. The closure protects you from unseen challenges. The disappointment you feel today might turn into gratitude later. Divine wisdom works quietly behind every event. What ends now may be the start of something beautiful. An opportunity you hoped for may slip away suddenly, but that loss often clears the path for something greater. The Almighty removes what will limit your growth. He guides you toward places where your heart and faith can flourish. As time passes, clarity replaces the confusion you once felt. The new opening arrives unexpectedly. With trust, the heart embraces what He chooses. A door you believed was essential may close, yet that closure holds hidden mercy. The Almighty shields you from situations that could weaken your spiritual stability. What seemed perfect was not aligned with your future. The redirection allows better opportunities to reach you. The blessing you receive later makes you realize how protective the closure was. His plan unfolds with care. A rejection that hurts initially may save you from emotional pain that would have been far heavier. The Almighty sees what lies beyond human sight. He closes paths that would drain your peace. What feels like an ending becomes a new beginning, shaped with wisdom. In the right moment, a better door opens effortlessly. Divine protection often masquerades as disappointment. A closed door teaches you to rely on the Almighty more deeply. You learn that your value is not determined by what you lose. The heart matures when it accepts that not everything you desire is beneficial. The Almighty chooses with full knowledge of your needs. A new opportunity often enters quietly after the closure. What once felt confusing begins to make sense. An unexpected ending can feel unfair, yet the Almighty prepares your heart for something far more meaningful. The closure may push you toward a direction you would never choose alone. Growth takes place through these shifts. The door that opens later often exceeds your expectations. Divine wisdom always aligns with your true benefit. Every redirection carries kindness. A denied request may be the very thing that elevates your future. The Almighty withholds to replace your limited plan with a greater one. When a door shuts abruptly, another is forming quietly. You may not understand it immediately, yet clarity arrives as your heart evolves. What you receive later often feels perfectly timed. His decisions are filled with mercy. A door closing can test your patience, but it also builds resilience. The Almighty strengthens your inner character through these experiences. What you lose may lighten your journey rather than burden it. When a new opening emerges, you recognize the beauty behind the struggle. The transition reveals the depth of His wisdom. Every step is guided with compassion. A path that once felt right might close unexpectedly, guiding you away from unseen harm. The Almighty protects your future by removing what would hinder your growth. What seems painful can carry hidden relief. Over time, you see how necessary the closure was. The opening that follows brings peace and clarity. Divine wisdom never fails. A closed door invites reflection and realignment. The Almighty turns your attention towards something better suited for your soul. You develop patience, trust, and gratitude through the waiting period. When a new opportunity appears, it matches your needs more perfectly than the one you lost. The heart softens as it recognizes His mercy. What leaves is replaced with something richer. A relationship, job, dream, or opportunity may end, yet that ending often clears emotional space for something healthier. The Almighty knows what drains your energy and what strengthens it. The closure allows new blessings to settle in your life. Later, you understand why the loss was necessary. A greater opening arrives with serenity. Everything unfolds with precision. A sudden shift in your plans reminds you that control belongs to the Almighty alone. When He closes a door, He redirects you with purpose. The transition leads you toward experiences that nurture your faith. The blessing that opens afterward often aligns perfectly with your needs. Your heart finds peace in His arrangement. Every closure creates space for elevation. A door you desperately wanted may close, but that door may have carried more harm than good. The Almighty knows your weaknesses and strengths better than you do. He protects your heart from what could break it. A better path opens only once the harmful one closes. Gratitude grows as you see the outcome unfold. His decisions are always in your favor. A closed door teaches you to shift your focus toward what truly matters. The Almighty removes distractions that prevent spiritual growth. What feels difficult today may lead you to something far more fulfilling. The new direction brings clarity and peace. You grow stronger through the transition. His wisdom fills every moment. A denied opportunity might redirect you to people who uplift your journey. The Almighty connects hearts at the right moment. You may meet someone who guides you, supports you, or helps you grow in ways you never predicted. Without the earlier closure, this blessing would not have reached you. The meaning behind the shift becomes clear. Divine orchestration is flawless. A closed door deepens your appreciation for the blessings that eventually arrive. The Almighty prepares you through waiting and redirection. When the new opening appears, your heart is ready to receive it with gratitude. What once confused you becomes a source of insight. You recognize how far His wisdom extends. Trust grows stronger with each revelation. A loss may feel heavy at first, yet it often removes something that was delaying your progress. The Almighty clears the path so that a new opportunity can reach you with ease. The opening that follows carries relief and purpose. Your growth becomes visible over time. You realize how perfectly everything was arranged. His guidance never fails. A closed path can be the greatest form of protection. The Almighty prevents you from entering situations that would harm your faith or your peace. The disappointment fades once the reason becomes clear. A new opportunity arrives that aligns with your well-being. You begin to appreciate the closure as a blessing. His plan unfolds with kindness. A door shutting can feel lonely, yet it often moves you toward personal transformation. The Almighty places you in circumstances that strengthen your faith. Growth blooms when you accept His plan with an open heart. Soon, a brighter opening appears. The new path carries wisdom and beauty. Divine alignment is always precise. A closure you didn't expect can lead you to the greatest opening of your life. The Almighty replaces what was limited with something expansive. You gain clarity, peace, and purpose through the transition. The opening arrives with perfect timing. Everything that once confused you becomes meaningful. His wisdom shines through every chapter. A person may ask for something specific, expecting the blessing to arrive in a familiar shape, yet the Almighty sends a gift that surpasses the original request. You may not recognize it at first because it arrives through a lesson, a change, or a new chapter. With time, your heart realizes the value of what was given. His generosity goes beyond your imagination. What you receive often carries long-term benefit. Divine kindness always exceeds expectation. You may pray for ease in one area, and the Almighty responds by strengthening you from the inside. The gift becomes the resilience you develop, the courage you gain, or the clarity that enters your life. These unseen blessings carry more value than what you initially asked for. They prepare you for greater opportunities ahead. Every form of divine mercy holds deep purpose. What you receive may change you profoundly. You may ask for a small door to open, yet the Almighty opens one that leads to greater horizons. The blessing arrives in a way that lifts you beyond your limited vision. It teaches you that His knowledge surrounds every detail of your life. What you hoped for may have been too narrow. While His plan is vast, the gift arrives with precision. His generosity never falls short. You may pray for a certain kind of success, and the Almighty grants a version that nurtures both your worldly needs and your spiritual growth. The blessing aligns perfectly with your well-being. What comes your way carries more benefit than the request you made. The heart eventually understands why it arrived differently. His wisdom shapes the gift into something lasting. Every response is wrapped in mercy. You may long for a particular outcome, yet the Almighty grants peace instead. That peace becomes the foundation for future blessings. You gain contentment, stability, and inner balance. These gifts strengthen your heart in ways material outcomes never could. What you receive becomes a treasure you didn't even know to ask for. His kindness reaches you in forms you didn't expect. Every blessing has meaning. You may ask for a person, a place, or a plan, and the Almighty gives you wisdom instead. That wisdom opens doors you could not have imagined. It guides your decisions, refines your character, and shapes your future. What you receive becomes a lifelong benefit. The heart recognizes the depth of His mercy through this form of blessing. Divine generosity always arrives with purpose. You may seek relief from hardship, and the Almighty grants strength that helps you rise above it. The ability to endure becomes a powerful gift. Through this strength, you discover qualities within yourself that you never knew existed. What He gives builds your foundation. His mercy enters through the unexpected. The blessing becomes a transformation within you. You may ask for a certain livelihood, and the Almighty gives you opportunities that develop patience, discipline, and gratitude. These qualities protect your future far more than wealth alone. What you receive shapes your character in beautiful ways. The blessing enters through growth rather than material gain. His wisdom chooses the form that benefits you most. You may pray for the easing of burdens, yet the Almighty gives you clarity that changes the way you experience those burdens. The clarity becomes a light within your heart. It guides your actions and strengthens your trust. What you once saw as difficulty becomes manageable. The blessing arrives as understanding. His mercy touches the soul in profound ways. You may hope for a specific path to open, yet the Almighty guides you onto a completely different one that elevates your life. That path holds opportunities you did not foresee. It brings new people, new lessons, and new growth. What you receive surpasses your original request. His planning always exceeds human thought. Every blessing is delivered with exact wisdom. You may pray for a quick solution, and the Almighty gives you patience that benefits you for years ahead. Patience becomes a tool that helps you navigate challenges gracefully. This gift outlasts the difficulty you're facing. What He gives builds your inner strength. Divine generosity appears in forms that enrich the heart. Each response is crafted with care. You may ask for something temporary, yet the Almighty grants something permanent. His gifts often carry long-term impact. They protect you, guide you, and shape your destiny. The blessing might be a lesson, a shift, or a new beginning. Your heart eventually realizes how valuable it is. His mercy surpasses your expectations. What He gives is always better. You may seek comfort through worldly means, and the Almighty grants comfort through spiritual elevation. That elevation brings peace that cannot be replaced by anything material. What you receive becomes a source of tranquility in every stage of life. The form of the gift enriches your soul. His generosity always arrives with depth and meaning. You may ask for a single solution, yet the Almighty grants multiple forms of goodness that unfold gradually. Each layer of blessing appears when your heart is ready to appreciate it. What you receive becomes a chain of mercies. The journey reveals how beautifully the plan was designed. His gifts arrive with detail and precision. Every blessing comes with purpose. You may pray for a way out, and the Almighty grants a way forward. Instead, the new direction carries strength, clarity, and unexpected opportunities. What you receive empowers you to rise rather than escape. His wisdom chooses the form that elevates your growth. The heart realizes the value in the new path. Divine generosity always uplifts. You may hope for one small blessing, and the Almighty grants a blessing that transforms your entire life. What arrives may influence your character, your relationships, or your long-term goals. The impact reaches far beyond your expectations. Every form of divine mercy carries extraordinary benefit. His generosity extends beyond your imagination. You may pray for an outcome, yet the Almighty gives you inner healing instead. That healing becomes the greatest gift, restoring your peace and strengthening your connection with Him. What you receive changes how you experience life. The blessing enters in a form that nourishes your heart deeply. His mercy never fails. You may hope for a worldly achievement, yet the Almighty grants spiritual contentment instead. That contentment fills the gaps material success could never reach. What you receive enriches your entire being. The form of the blessing strengthens your relationship with the Almighty. His wisdom chooses what truly benefits you. Every gift has divine purpose. You may desire something urgently, yet the Almighty grants it slowly, so your heart appreciates it more fully. The gradual unfolding becomes part of the blessing. You gain gratitude, humility, and perspective. What you receive becomes more meaningful because it arrives at the perfect moment. His generosity is never rushed. Every part of the journey is intentional. You may ask for what you believe is best, yet the Almighty gives you what truly serves your life, your faith, and your future. The blessing may look different, but its impact is greater. The heart awakens to the depth of His care. You begin to realize how beautifully He responds to your prayers. What He gives is always more than what you requested. The quiet phases of your journey often feel empty, yet the Almighty is arranging every detail with profound wisdom. Nothing in your life pauses without purpose. You may feel overlooked or forgotten, but these moments nurture qualities within you that success will later depend on. Growth takes place in hidden ways. Strength builds in silence. When the breakthrough arrives, you will understand why this preparation was essential. The periods where nothing seems to change are often the moments where the greatest transformation unfolds. The Almighty works behind the scenes, forming opportunities that haven't reached you yet. You may feel uncertain, but He is shaping your path with precision. The heart learns patience during this process. Faith deepens quietly. The breakthrough comes when you are fully ready. When life feels unmoving, the Almighty is often refining your character for what lies ahead. You gain wisdom through reflection, endurance through challenges, and clarity through waiting. These qualities prepare you for blessings you cannot yet imagine. What seems inactive is actually a phase of development. Your breakthrough will carry the fruits of this preparation. Trust the unseen work being done for you. The quiet days teach you to rely on the Almighty more than the outcome itself. He strengthens your heart so that when the blessing arrives, you carry it with maturity and gratitude. Delay does not mean denial, it means construction. Something meaningful is forming beneath the surface. Your breakthrough will appear at the exact moment it is meant to. Every silent phase carries value. The journey may feel slow, yet the Almighty is aligning circumstances that will support you in the future. People, events, and opportunities are being put in place. You may not see the arrangement, but it is unfolding with perfection. This hidden preparation ensures you receive the blessing without harm. Your breakthrough will enter your life smoothly. Every detail is being handled with care. You may feel alone during the quiet seasons, but the Almighty is closer to you than ever. He teaches your heart what words cannot. Through these moments, you gain humility, resilience, and sincerity. These qualities will protect you when blessings arrive. The breakthrough that awaits you is shaped by this inner growth. Nothing is happening by accident. The phases where your efforts seem unnoticed are often the moments the Almighty multiplies their reward. He sees every intention and every struggle. While the world remains silent, your progress continues in His record. The breakthrough that follows reflects this unseen effort. You will realize how much was being prepared for you behind the curtain. Divine timing is flawless. The quiet periods cleanse your heart from impatience and rush. The Almighty is teaching you to trust His plan instead of your own timeline. This trust becomes your strength when blessings begin to flow. You are being prepared for something greater than you expected. The upcoming breakthrough will feel effortless because the foundation was built during the silent days. His wisdom fills every moment. The slow seasons create space for healing. The Almighty gently removes old wounds, past attachments, and harmful habits. This cleansing prepares your heart for new beginnings. When your breakthrough arrives, you will enter it with a lighter spirit. Every quiet moment contributes to your emotional and spiritual renewal. Nothing is wasted in His plan. The quiet moments teach you discipline. The Almighty helps you build habits that will sustain your success. Patience, gratitude, focus, and reliance on Him become stronger within you. These qualities ensure your breakthrough is not only achieved but maintained. What feels like waiting is actually training. Your future is being shaped with wisdom. The silence you experience may actually be protection. The Almighty shields you from distractions and paths that would harm your breakthrough. You may feel delayed, yet you are being preserved. The moment is not empty, it is strategic. Your breakthrough will find you at the safest moment. His protection works in ways you cannot see. The unseen phases prepare you for blessings that demand emotional maturity. The Almighty strengthens your heart enough to handle both success and responsibility. Each quiet day adds a layer of stability. When the breakthrough unfolds, you will manage it with grace. The preparation becomes evident only afterward. His planning is always perfect. The quiet seasons clear your path from unnecessary noise. The Almighty removes influences that would disrupt your growth. He isolates your heart so it can reconnect with Him, and this reconnection becomes the foundation of your breakthrough. What feels like emptiness is actually purification. The blessing that follows carries purity because the preparation did too. The silence before a breakthrough often reveals your true reliance. The Almighty allows you to discover where your trust lies. Through this reflection, your faith strengthens. The blessing that arrives afterward feels sweeter because it was earned through trust. Every quiet phase strengthens your spiritual bond. His mercy surrounds your journey. The quiet moments test your perseverance. The Almighty observes your sincerity during the waiting period. Every step you take with patience brings you closer to the outcome written for you. The breakthrough becomes a reward for your endurance. You will realize how beautifully the plan was crafted. His generosity never fails a patient heart. In the silent phases, the Almighty nurtures gratitude within you. You begin to value the small blessings that were once overlooked. This gratitude opens doors you didn't expect. When the breakthrough arrives, you embrace it with a thankful soul. The preparation shapes your heart into a vessel capable of holding blessings. His wisdom refines you through calm moments. The quiet intervals build clarity. The Almighty removes confusion and replaces it with insight. Your heart learns to see beyond immediate emotions. This clarity helps you make choices that align with your true purpose. When your breakthrough arrives, you recognize it instantly. The preparation ensures you don't miss what is meant for you. The silent phases teach you surrender. The Almighty guides you toward accepting that His plan is superior to your wishes. This surrender becomes a source of peace that carries you through every chapter. When the breakthrough arrives, it feels natural, not forced. You realize how every quiet moment led you to this point. His plan unfolds gracefully. The hidden moments bring purification of intention. The Almighty examines your motives and aligns them with sincerity. This purification ensures that your breakthrough benefits your faith, not just your worldly life. What comes next reflects the purity developed during the silent days. You step into your blessing with a clean heart. His mercy perfects your journey. The quiet season is often the final preparation before a major shift. The Almighty is arranging hearts, opportunities, and circumstances in ways you cannot imagine. The silence is a sign that something meaningful is forming. When the breakthrough arrives, it feels perfectly timed. You finally understand why the waiting was necessary. His work behind the scenes is always for your benefit. Unexpected changes often arrive in ways that shake your comfort, yet the Almighty places them with precision. What feels like disruption may be removing you from something that would harm your heart or your faith. The shift may feel heavy initially, but it carries hidden blessings. As your journey unfolds, you start seeing the grace behind that moment. Divine wisdom works beyond human understanding. The mercy becomes clear with time. A sudden change can feel like your life has been pushed into unfamiliar territory, yet the Almighty only redirects you for your benefit. What you held on to tightly might have been limiting your growth. The new direction may unlock opportunities you never imagined. Mercy arrives disguised as a challenge. Your heart expands through these transitions. Faith helps you embrace what you cannot yet understand. Many of the greatest blessings enter through doors you didn't expect to open. The Almighty knows which path will nourish your soul best. What feels confusing may actually be steering you toward a brighter chapter. The shift protects your future in ways you cannot see. Relief begins to unfold gradually. Mercy is often hidden inside the unexpected. Unplanned changes can awaken strength within you that you didn't know existed. The Almighty chooses moments that refine your character. Through sudden transitions, you learn resilience, wisdom, and deeper trust. What seemed like a setback becomes a stepping stone. The new path reveals goodness previously unseen. His mercy shapes every part of your journey. The journey may take a sharp turn when you least anticipate it, yet that turn can deliver you to blessings that were beyond your imagination. The Almighty knows your needs far better than you do. The unexpected shift removes obstacles you didn't realize were blocking your progress. Over time, you see how perfectly you were guided. Mercy often hides behind unfamiliar changes. A change that feels abrupt may be protecting you from harm. The Almighty shields you before danger reaches you. The moment may feel unsettling, yet the unseen threat is removed. Your heart later understands the kindness in that redirection. What felt like loss turns into gratitude. Divine protection often comes in surprising forms. Unexpected changes can interrupt plans you held close, yet the Almighty replaces them with something far better. The new direction may be difficult at first, but it carries long-term benefit. Your vision is limited, but His knowledge is complete. What unfolds afterward reveals His kindness. The mercy becomes undeniable. Trust grows stronger through these shifts. A sudden transition may help you break free from unhealthy patterns. The Almighty liberates your heart from attachments that weaken your faith. You may struggle initially, yet the new path creates space for spiritual growth. With time, you appreciate the wisdom behind the change. Mercy often begins with discomfort. His plan always aims to uplift you. Unexpected change may place you among people who strengthen your faith and character. The Almighty aligns you with those who inspire you, guide you, or support your journey. Without the shift, you may never have met them. The new connections become a source of comfort. The arrangement reflects divine mercy. Everything unfolds with purpose. A change you didn't ask for might redirect your priorities toward what truly matters. The Almighty gently guides you away from distractions that were consuming your energy. Through the shift, your heart realigns with what benefits your soul. You gain clarity that wealth and comfort alone cannot provide. Mercy flows through this inner awakening. The new direction becomes a blessing. Unplanned moments often break the illusions you built around your own control. The Almighty reminds you that He manages your affairs with precision. This realization brings humility and peace. You learn to trust more deeply. When the change reveals its wisdom, you recognize how kindly you were guided. Mercy reaches you through surrender. Unexpected changes may heal wounds you didn't know you carried. The Almighty places you in environments that soothe your heart and rebuild your confidence. At first, the shift may feel confusing, but healing begins quietly. The new chapter becomes a source of comfort. The mercy behind the redirection becomes beautifully clear. His compassion surrounds you. A sudden change can lead you toward opportunities you never planned for. The Almighty creates openings that align with your hidden potential. What you thought was an ending becomes a path toward progress. The new journey reveals abilities you didn't realize you had. Mercy unfolds through growth. His plan nurtures your development. The shifts you did not expect often bring out gratitude later. The Almighty gives you what you needed rather than what you wanted. Through the unexpected, He protects your heart from future regrets. What seemed painful is later understood as mercy. The new chapter carries blessings you couldn't foresee. Every part of the journey is written with kindness. A sudden change may humble you in a beautiful way. The Almighty softens the heart by redirecting you to places where you learn, grow, and mature. Pride melts into gratitude. Hardship transforms into awareness. Mercy blossoms through humility. The transition shapes your character gently. Every step is handled with care. Unexpected change may bring spiritual elevation. The Almighty draws you closer to Him through experiences that awaken your soul. You may find yourself praying with deeper sincerity. You may reconnect with values you lost along the way. The new direction becomes a means of strengthening your faith. The mercy behind the shift becomes powerful. His guidance is always gentle. The transition you never expected may reveal the true purpose of your path. The Almighty guides you toward experiences that shape your destiny. Through the shift, your heart discovers new meaning. What felt confusing becomes your greatest lesson. Mercy unfolds in the form of wisdom. Every moment is written with precision. Unexpected moments often separate you from what harms your peace. The Almighty removes you from situations that drain your heart. This unseen protection becomes clear when your life begins to lighten. The change that once felt unwelcome becomes something you thank Him for. Mercy is hidden inside protection. His care never leaves you. A major shift may elevate your level of gratitude. The Almighty blesses you through challenges that reshape your view of life. What you once took for granted becomes a source of appreciation. The new chapter deepens your understanding of His favor. Mercy unfolds through awareness. Your heart becomes more open to His blessings. Unexpected changes often prepare you for a future far brighter than the present you clung to. The Almighty clears paths you wouldn't dare to change yourself. What seemed difficult becomes the foundation of your success. As you move forward, you realize how perfectly everything was arranged. Mercy guided every step. His plan outshines your expectations. A heart often dreams within the limits of its own imagination, while the Almighty prepares something far beyond those boundaries. You may expect a small blessing, yet He shapes one that transforms your entire life. As events unfold, the wisdom behind every delay and detour becomes clear. The blessing finally reaches you in a form that humbles your heart. You recognize how deeply He cares for you. His planning always surpasses human desire. The moment you realize His plan exceeded your dream, gratitude fills your soul in a way words cannot express. What you hoped for may have been good, yet what He prepared was perfect. The timing aligns, the doors open, and everything fits with remarkable ease. You begin to see how gently He crafted your journey. The outcome reflects divine compassion. His mercy does not simply meet your expectations, it elevates them. What you once prayed for with limited vision becomes a blessing so complete that you wonder how you ever imagined anything different. The Almighty shapes your path with wisdom that accounts for every detail of your future. What looked like disappointment transforms into relief. What felt like loss becomes gain. The beauty lies in realizing how perfectly He arranged every step. His decisions always come with purpose. You may have wished for a simple solution, yet the Almighty grants a breakthrough that touches your heart, your character, and your future all at once. The depth of His generosity becomes clear only when the blessing unfolds fully. Every struggle leading to it now makes sense. You see new meaning in your journey. His mercy reveals itself in unexpected layers. The blessing shows how well He knows you. What you thought was a setback often turns out to be the foundation of your greatest blessing. The Almighty removes what weakens you and brings what strengthens you. Through this process, you recognize how beautifully He rewrites your story. The new chapter fits your life more perfectly than the one you originally wanted. His plan carries hidden treasures. The beauty of surrender grows within your heart. You may have dreamed of something small due to fear or doubt, yet the Almighty expands your path far beyond that limited vision. The new opportunity feels tailor-made for you. Every aspect aligns with your growth. You realize that the dream you once held was only a seed compared to the garden He prepared. The blessing blooms with precision. His care surrounds every detail. What you gain through His plan often carries a peace you never expected. The heart settles into a calmness that your original dream could not have given. The blessing comes with emotional healing, spiritual upliftment, and renewed strength. You see how wisely He planned each moment. The gift becomes deeper than your request. His mercy always brings more than you seek. The beauty of His plan appears when you reflect on the journey that brought you to your blessing. You realize that every delay shaped your character, every challenge built resilience, and every closed door protected you. The final outcome fits so perfectly that you feel humbled. The blessing touches every corner of your life. His design reveals extraordinary wisdom. Your dream may have focused on worldly benefit, while His plan brings both worldly goodness and spiritual elevation. The blessing becomes a source of faith, gratitude, and closeness to Him. This dual benefit highlights how deeply He cares for your heart. What you receive strengthens your relationship with Him. You realize how beautifully He balances your needs. His plan always aims for your ultimate success. What you longed for might have been temporary, yet the Almighty gives you something lasting. The blessing carries stability, growth, and long-term benefit. You recognize how limited your original dream was compared to what He prepared. The new chapter enhances your life in ways you never imagined. The beauty lies in the unexpected depth of His generosity. His plan always holds more meaning. You may have imagined a single path, yet the Almighty opens one that brings multiple forms of goodness. Blessings appear in your health, relationships, work, and faith. The journey expands in directions you didn't foresee. The outcome reveals the richness of His mercy. You understand that His plan was always greater. The heart finds comfort in His perfection. What once felt confusing becomes clear when the blessing finally arrives. The Almighty shows you why certain doors had to close and why certain people had to leave. Everything begins to make sense. The new chapter aligns effortlessly with your life. You realize that the confusion you endured was actually preparation. His plan unfolds with precision. Beauty fills your journey. The moment His plan becomes visible, your heart feels a relief that your own dream could never provide. The blessing fits your emotional and spiritual needs so perfectly that you feel seen by the Almighty. Every worry fades. Gratitude deepens. The beauty lies in knowing He gave you exactly what you needed, not merely what you wanted. His wisdom nurtures your soul. His plan often introduces people who bring positive change to your life. Their presence supports your growth in ways you didn't anticipate. Without His redirection, you would never have met them. You realize the blessing is not only what you received, but also who you became through His arrangement. The beauty of His plan unfolds through relationships, lessons, and new beginnings. His mercy always surrounds you. A dream you once held may have been too small for your potential. The Almighty expands that potential through opportunities crafted just for you. These opportunities bring strength, confidence, and purpose. You realize that He believed in you even when you doubted yourself. The outcome reflects His kindness. The beauty of His plan lies in how much it uplifts you. The greatest beauty appears when you recognize that His plan removed harm before you even knew it existed. What you thought was a failure was actually protection. The blessing that follows reveals how precisely He safeguarded your heart. Relief washes over you as you understand the wisdom behind the detour. His plan holds mercy in every step. When His plan unfolds, you see lessons woven into every moment of the journey. Challenges taught you patience, delays taught you trust, and losses taught you detachment. These lessons prepare you for the blessing you eventually receive. You realize how necessary the journey was. The beauty lies in how perfectly He shaped your growth. His plan always builds you. Your dream may have been based on temporary desires, but His plan focuses on what elevates your future. That future becomes brighter, deeper, and more meaningful than you imagined. The blessing helps you grow into a better version of yourself. You recognize how incredibly He knows your heart. The beauty of His plan lies in its everlasting benefit. A blessing from His plan often arrives at the perfect moment, neither early nor late. The timing enhances the beauty of the experience. You feel ready, grateful, and aware of how far you've come. The blessing becomes a reminder that His timing is flawless. You realize how perfectly He coordinated everything. His plan never misses its moment. The most beautiful part of realizing His plan was better than your dream is the closeness it builds between you and Him. You trust Him more, love Him more, and rely on Him more deeply. Your heart feels secure in His wisdom. The journey strengthens your faith in His timing, His choices, and His care. Every blessing reflects His love. His plan is always superior. When the Almighty writes a blessing for you, it will reach you in ways you never imagined and at a moment you never expected. What feels delayed, hidden, or silent today may be the beginning of the kindness He prepared long ago. Trust His timing, trust His wisdom, and trust that nothing He withholds is ever meant to break you. Your story is moving exactly as He designed it, And when the blessing finally appears, you will realize it was worth every step, every pause and every prayer.